And if you don't value your time, nobody else is going to value your time. So the onus is on you. If you're thinking increasing the distance of your long run and you want to understand how to run longer without getting so tired, then stick around, because I'm going to share 3 powerful tips that I've used in my ultramarathon training that I think will help you improve your running endurance, so that way you can run longer, stronger, and not get so tired. So let's start. The big mistake I made, and I've seen other runners make when they are training to increase the distance of the long run, is that they set off on a long run just like any other training run. But it's not. It's your long run. It's your longest run of the week, and it should be your slowest. I'm David, and I've been using the Maffetone method for over 4 years on and off. I've run marathons, half marathons, and an ultra. 4 years ago, I went from running 8:34 per kilometer to 5:36 per kilometer in the span of 1 year, so I know it works. When it comes to running longer and improving my running endurance, which is ultimately the key to me being able to last longer while running, is I need to be running in my aerobic zone, such as zone 2, using the Maffetone method like 180 minus your age, or even the Kavarvan formula, which is heart rate reserve. Now, there are various ways that you could use heart rate monitor to work out your training zones, but in practice, for most runners, it's a simple rule of thumb, and that is if you're getting out of breath, you're running too fast to be training your aerobic system. You could think of it like this: KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Look, running faster may feel more athletic, but in doing so, you're not actually building your endurance. You are slowing down. You're running too fast, and you may find yourself in zone 3 or zone 4. While these are important zones, they are not used for running longer. These are used for training your anaerobic, such as your fast twitch muscle fibers, the ones that, you can run like on a dime, like you're running a 100-meter dash. It's those types of muscles. So if you're running with a friend, your long run should be an easy enough pace so that way you can have an easy back and forth conversation and you're not huffing and puffing and, taking long breaks in between all of your sentences. And if you're on your own, like I am most of the time, and then you'll want to be focusing on your rhythm of your breathing and matching it up with your strides. It's an interesting experiment that I would have you certainly explore, but it takes focus on keeping it going. Now remember, when you're running at an easy pace, you should be able to breathe gently for 3 strides and breathe out gently for 3 strides without losing control of your breathing. This one seems to be so simple, and it is run more often. Sure, it sounds easy, and obviously you should run more. However, new runners often mistakenly think that the only way to run longer is to keep making your long runs that little bit longer each week. And of course, that's part of the puzzle. But another hugely important aspect is your weekly mileage. Let's not forget the ultimate goal of being able to run longer without getting tired is all about improving your aerobic endurance. Simply by running more easy-paced miles every week, split across 3 or 4 or 5 runs, you'll notice over time that your running endurance, efficiency, and economy all improve. Of course, you should aim to increase your weekly running mileage by about 10% each week to help avoid the running injuries. But here, you gotta listen to your body and take at least 1 rest day per week. That was my mistake. I didn't really give myself a lot of breaks, and that made a big difference when I started to get into running longer and faster at the same low heart rate. I've run my best marathon times when I've increased my weekly mileage consistently rather than pushing myself to run longer and longer runs than I normally would do in a marathon training. And I know lots of other runners who have experienced the same thing. Weekly mileage is key. Focusing on form is so crucially important. Right from the very start of your long run, you should be aware of key aspects of your running technique, such as your posture and your cadence. Holding yourself tall as you run, making short, light strides rather than the heavy overstriding. However, as your long run goes on, you might notice that your legs start to feel a little bit heavier as fatigue starts to kick in. It's actually a good sign, and it means that you're running at a point where you're starting to really challenge your body. And as you recover after your long run, you'll actually grow stronger the next time you're able to go for a little bit longer. So when you start to feel those heavy legs, switch your focus to your arms. If you maintain a quick rhythm with your arms swinging back and forth, your legs will follow. It'll allow you to maintain the high cadence and efficient, short, light running stride for longer into your long run rather than the legs getting heavier, slow, and beginning to overstride. I'm gonna go a little bit off script right now and just say, the other big factor that you need to put into your training plan, which no training plan has. Not one training plan has exactly what I'm gonna say, but we all know it. And that is, if I just went out and started to run for the sake of just running, sure, it could be cool, and it may be fun to do for a while, but who knows? Maybe after a while, you just kind of like stop running for no good reason. It's just like, hey, I just don't want to run today. But then that turns into another day and another day and another day. I always look at myself and go, well, why did I start running? What was my why? What got me moving? Well, like I said in one of my previous videos, my dad called me out. You know, my father, who was in his 80s, called me out. He had nothing to gain. He was just concerned about his son. And it kind of lit a little bit of the fire under the belly. It took a little while to get going for me to start making changes, but a seed was planted. So you have to understand why you're running, because if you don't know why it is that you do the things that you do, the chances are you'll probably end up stopping at some point. Or in some cases, you may just end up eating a little bit too much. And after time, someone will say, well, why do you eat at like 11 o'clock at night? Why don't you just go to bed? Very good question. Or why is it that you get out for a run at 5 o'clock in the morning when it's cold and snowy and everything else? It's a very valid point too. Or it could be, why are you running races every single weekend throughout the spring and summer months? That's a very good question as well. And these are questions that you'll have to answer yourself, because these are questions that I answer on a regular basis to understand why I do the things I do. One of the questions I'm asking right now is, why the heck is there snow on the ground? I mean, it was just 20 degrees the other day. This is kind of crazy when you think about it. But to bring it back, it's really important to understand why you are deciding to take running, like why you've decided to start running. What was it that got you to where you are today? And sometimes when that starts to fade, your why may not be strong enough and you may have to change it to something else. Because if you've kind of quit running or you're inconsistent a lot, you may not have a big goal, you may not have a big why to get you to continue to do the sport that you started with. So it's just something to think about in the big scheme of things. And I have to think about this a lot because I don't race a lot because of I don't race a lot because of my type of job that I do. A lot of the races are on weekends and I do a lot of work on the weekends. So it's a little bit of a challenge for me to kind of balance. But it's also an excuse that I use to stop me from doing these things. That's something I have to figure out. Now I'm going to share a little bonus with you. Something that, again, you won't find in any other training plan. Training plans are great, but there are parts of it that don't talk about the emotion side of it, right? It doesn't talk about any of that. It doesn't talk about, I've got 2 kids. I got a job I got to drive an hour to or an hour and a half to. I have a job that's inconsistent. I have a job that keeps me late at work. I have a job that just is unforgiving with my personal time. Look, it could be any of those reasons, right? Soccer, dance class, football, hockey, baseball, with the kids. You know, you want to have some date night with your wife. You want to have some time for yourself. And you find it extremely hard. You got to factor that in. We all have the same amount of time in the day. It's just on how we spend it and where our commitments lie. So I find it very important to be able to put yourself first. When are you going to run? Put it in your calendar somehow, because that will be a contributing factor to why either you're not succeeding at being able to run longer and faster at the same low heart rate. It could be the reason why you can't even improve in the type of running that you're doing if you're building your aerobic base. It all comes down to time. And if you don't value your time, nobody else is going to value your time. So the onus is on you to figure out where in your schedule you can fit your fitness. Because again, if you don't have your fitness, what else do you got? Right? You start to fall apart. And that's just a little bit of me to you. I hope these tips have helped you kind of start to think about how you can run longer for further at the same low heart rate. Because these were things that I was thinking about when I was running longer. And these professional athletes, that's all they do. But when you're committed to a job and family life, and you're trying to fit these runs in, man, it's hard and it can be very challenging. But if you've got the discipline, and if you've got your schedule, and you've got all the supporting systems around you, a lot can change, and you can run that marathon, you can run that half marathon, you could run a 10K. Whatever it is that you want to do and whatever it is that you want to achieve, it all comes down to you. Now, this all starts with your first run. And if you sign yourself up to a 90-day challenge and getting out and making the changes necessary, huge benefits can be had. And in fact, there's a video right here which will show you exactly why starting to run now will be helpful 90 days from now. So make sure you're going to watch that next. And if you're new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe. It's my job to help you run longer help you run longer and faster at the same low heart rate, to get rid of the injuries and stay on track and be motivated to get out and run.